Good Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversation Daily News. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. We, of course, have your news headlines coming up on this Tuesday. We have the truth of the day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and in today's Entertainment Spotlight, even part of my conversation with author MIchele Neff Hernandez, discussing her powerful new book, Different After You, Rediscovering Yourself and Healing After Grief and Trauma. You don't want to miss that. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Tuesday headlines. In international news, crisis deepens. Ukraine accuses Moscow of medieval tactics. The humanitarian crisis in Ukraine deepened on Monday as Russian forces intensified their shelling, and food, water, heat, and medicine grew increasingly scarce, and with the country condemned as a medieval-style siege by Moscow to batter it into submission. A third round of talks between the two sides ended with a top Ukrainian official saying there had been minor, unspecified progress toward establishing safe corridors that would allow civilians to escape the fighting. Russia's chief negotiator said he expects those corridors to start operating today. But that remained to be seen, given the failure of previous attempts to lead civilians to safety amid the biggest ground war in Europe since World War II. Well into the second week of the invasion, with Russian troops making significant advances in southern Ukraine, but stalled in some other regions, a top U.S. official said multiple countries were discussing whether to provide the warplanes that the Ukrainian president has been pleading for. Russian President Vladimir Putin's forces continue to pummel cities with rockets, and fierce fighting raged in places. In one of the most desperate cities, an estimated of 200,000 people, nearly half the population, were hoping to flee, and Red Cross officials waited to hear when a corridor could be established. The city is short on water, food, and power, and cell phone networks are down. Stores have been looted as residents search for essential goods. In the capital, Kyiv, soldiers and volunteers have built hundreds of checkpoints to protect the city of nearly 4 million, often using sandbags, stacked tires, and spiked cables. Some barricades look significant, with heavy concrete slabs and sandbags piled more than 2 stories high, while others appear more haphazard, with hundreds of books used to weigh down stacks of tires. In the south, Russian forces also continued their offensive, opening fire on the Black Sea shipboarding center of 500,000 people, according to Ukraine's military. Rescuers say they were putting out fires caused by rocket attacks in residential areas. In national news, U.S. gasoline prices rise again on talk of banning Russian oil. Gasoline prices are pushing even further above $4 a gallon, the highest price that American motorists have faced since July 2008, as calls grow to ban imports of Russian oil. Prices at the pump were rising long before Russia invaded Ukraine and have spiraled faster since the start of the war. The U.S. national average for a gallon of gasoline has soared 45 cents a gallon in the past week and topped $4.06 on Monday, according to Auto Club AAA. Price of regular broke $4 a gallon on Sunday for the first time in nearly 14 years and is now up nearly 50% from a year ago. The price is even higher in Europe. Gas Buddy, which tracks prices down to the service station level, said on Monday that the U.S. was likely to break its record price of $4.10 a gallon, but that does not account for inflation. In more national news, mask mandates go away in schools, but parents' worries persist. Major school districts around the country are allowing students into classrooms without masks for the first time in nearly 2 years. Eliminating rules has stirred up intense fights among educators, school boards, and parents throughout the pandemic. New York City became the latest school district to do away with its mask requirement on Monday, and Philadelphia is poised to lift its mandate on Wednesday, joining big cities such as Houston and Dallas and a number of states that made similar moves in the last week. Chicago schools will end their mask mandates next week. In business news, Wall Street had its biggest drop in more than a year Monday as another leap for oil prices threatened to squeeze inflation's grip on the global economy. The S&P 500 fell 3%, its biggest decline in 16 months, after a barrel of U.S. oil surged to $130 overnight on the possibility the U.S. could bar imports from Russia. Stocks around the world also fell earlier in the day, taking their cue from oil's movements. The benchmark S&P 500 fell 123 points to 4,201. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 797 points, or 2.4%, to 32,817. And finally, in entertainment news, Mississippi Community College to open new music facility. A Mississippi Community College is opening a new music complex East Central Community College will dedicate its new Thomas W. Carson Band Hall today, the Meridian Star reported. The ceremony will be held inside the new facility, which is north of the existing Vickers Fine Arts Center on the Decatur campus. The $3.5 million facility will house the college's Wall of Sound Marching Band Practice Hall, music practice studios, teaching studios, instrument storage, a music library, and office space. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's all time for the Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich. Mary Ellen, it's all yours.
This is Mary Ellen with your Truth of the Day. Always continue to shine your light of goodness. When you find yourself in the presence of a person in a grumpy mood, it may seem like a dark cloud is approaching. This might block your light of positivity. You can remind yourself that clouds pass. This person's grumpy behavior does not have the power to affect your mood unless you allow it to. With the power of change firmly in your hands, you can choose to respond to a grumpy person with confidence and understanding. Continue to shine your light of positivity to assist others to find their way back to their own light. Offer them a silent prayer of peace, a sympathetic smile, or a word of welcome. All people need understanding without any judgments or expectations. Help a person to see the good in any situation they might see as troublesome. Today, find someone and make their day better. And also, enjoy your day.
We are part of my conversation coming up with author MIchele Neff Hernandez in today's Entertainment Spotlight. Stay with us, you're listening to Conversation Daily News. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with the Entertainment Spotlight. Author MIchele Neff Hernandez joined me on Conversations Live, the radio show, to discuss her book, Different After You, Rediscovering Yourself and Healing After Grief and Trauma. Here's a bit of our conversation. In the chapter Embracing the New You address this in a very interesting way, and you do it by allowing us to be able to understand about the choice. You say it's important to recognize that surviving and healing are choices. In order to thrive, by accessing the potential of the new you must give yourself permission to thrive and then keep making that choice. I want to ask you this question as we begin. What has that been like for you to see the benefits of that choice and how you've been able to help other people, MIchele?
Well, I first want to acknowledge that it's really difficult sometimes to make the choice, and that for people who are grieving or who experience a severe trauma, they often are irritated and angry about having to make that choice. And so I just want to normalize that. If you're thinking to yourself right now, whatever, lady, you go right ahead and choose. But at the end of the day, it still really comes down to the choice to allow yourself to thrive after you've experienced something horrible. Because the thing is, for me, the horrible thing already happened. In my case, that was the death of my husband. But for our listeners, it could be any number of different types of trauma. That thing has already happened. And so we don't have a choice about the bad, but we do have a choice about the good. We can allow good things to come into our lives after something awful happened, but we have to choose that part. We didn't choose the trauma, right? We didn't choose what happened to us, but we can choose what happens to us in the future. And so for as long as we need to, sometimes people need the opportunity to not make the choice. All I'm pointing out in the book is that we always do have the choice. And when we decide to allow ourselves the goodness that comes beside the horrible things that happen, then we open the door to healing in a new way.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning into this edition of Conversations Daily News. We'll have you guys on tomorrow with more news, Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and of course your Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversation Daily News today. Let's make today amazing. Take care.